The cry in the alley. The planet Zoltrax 9 never slept. Neon lights flashed, sky cars zoomed over narrow lanes, and voices of hundreds of aliens mixed into a constant hum. People traded, shouted, laughed, and ignored the weak. In the middle of this noise down a dark and dirty alley, a small alien girl was crying. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes large and glowing with fear. Her hair was tangled, her clothes torn. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Standing barefoot, trembling, she screamed with all the strength she had. "Please, someone help. They took my sister. They took her." Crowds passed by the alley without stopping. Some looked at her, then walked faster. A tall insectoid alien scoffed, "Crazy street rat." Another muttered, "Just a beggar." Nobody believed her. High above, security drones flew silently, scanning for threats. They didn't even register the girl's voice. Then, a human man stepped off a cargo transport nearby. He had just arrived from the core worlds. His name was Jacob, a former soldier, now a wanderer. He wore a simple jacket, boots, and carried an old backpack. As he walked past the alley, her voice caught his attention. Jacob paused. He turned his head slowly toward the sound. His hand moved near the stun pistol on his belt, just in case. He walked toward the shadows. There she was. The alien girl was curled near a broken trash unit, crying into her hands. Her knees were scraped. Her eyes looked hopeless. "They took her," she whispered, more to herself now. Jacob crouched down carefully. "Hey," he said gently. "You okay?" She flinched and pulled back. Her small body pressed against the wall. "Don't touch me, you'll take me too." Jacob raised his hands. "Easy, I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to help." She stared at him, confused. "Why?" "Nobody helps me. I told them. I told the guards, the traders, even the priest. They all laughed." Jacob sat down on a broken crate across from her. "Start from the beginning. What's your name?" "Lisa," she whispered. "All right, Lisa. My name's Jacob, I believe you. Tell me what happened." Her lips trembled. "It was 2 nights ago. My sister and I were sleeping near the docking bay. It's safer there. Less gangs. Then I heard a noise. When I opened my eyes, I saw shadows. Tall ones. They took her. I screamed, but no one came. She kicked. She fought. But they took her into a dark van and flew off." Jacob frowned. "Did you see who they were?" She shook her head. "No, but I saw a symbol on the van. A red eye with 3 black claws around it." Jacob's heart skipped. That symbol wasn't unknown. It belonged to a secret group, an old enemy from his military days. They were supposed to be gone. He looked around. "Did anyone else see this?" Lisa shook her head again. "They say I'm lying, that I'm just trying to get food, but I'm not. I don't care about food. I just want my sister back." Jacob stood up and held out his hand. "Then let's find her." She blinked. "What?" "Said I believe you. And if she's really been taken by who I think, we don't have much time." Lisa stared at his hand. "But you're a human. Why would you care?" Jacob smiled softly. "Sometimes the people who care most are the ones who've been ignored too." Lisa slowly reached out and took his hand. For the first time, someone didn't laugh at her. For the first time, she felt hope. But just as Jacob helped her up, a mechanical sound buzzed overhead. A black surveillance drone hovered silently above them. Jacob's eyes narrowed. "We need to move. Now." He pulled Lisa close and darted deeper into the alley as the drone scanned the area. They disappeared into the shadows. 1 human, 1 alien child, both now targets of something much darker than the city around them. The rain started just after midnight. Thin drops fell from the high steel towers of Zoltrax 9, turning dirt into slime and trash into rivers. Most creatures rushed indoors, but 2 shadows moved quietly through the back alleys, keeping to the dark. 1 tall, 1 small. Jacob's coat was soaked. Lissa's bare feet made no sound on the cold metal ground. She stayed close, eyes wide, heart pounding. They stopped beneath a rusted awning behind an old noodle shop. Steam rose from vents. A flickering neon sign buzzed above them. Jacob knelt beside her. "All right, kid. You said you know where they took your sister. I'm listening." Lissa looked up slowly. "You're still with me. You didn't leave." "I said I believed you," Jacob replied. "Now talk." She pointed down a narrow, almost hidden path. "There's a tunnel under that old reactor dome. It leads to a place we called the Hollow Core. Most people stay away. They say it's cursed. But I've seen lights, ships, movement. My sister said we'd never go near it." Jacob looked in the direction she pointed. "Sounds like a good place to hide something and or someone." Lissa bit her lip. "They use it to take people, mostly the ones no one will miss." A chill ran through Jacob, not from the cold but from her words. "How do you know?" he asked. She slowly pulled something from her ragged shirt. A small, cracked data pendant, glowing faint blue. "I took this off the ground near the tunnel. I saw the man drop it as they pushed my sister into the transport." Jacob took it gently and looked closely. The pendant had the same symbol she described, a red eye with 3 claws. But more than that, it was encrypted. "Military grade. Code," Jacob muttered. "No way this belongs to common criminals." "What does that mean?" Lissa asked. "It means whoever took your sister is dangerous." A loud whistle shrieked in the distance, then silence. Jacob looked around, tense. "Let's move before someone notices we're talking about this." They slipped through the city's underside, past old pipes, broken bridges, and forgotten tunnels. They reached a ruined service station with doors welded shut and broken lights hanging like spider legs. Lissa pointed again. "Down there. That's where I saw the ship go." A steel trapdoor lay in the corner, half hidden under garbage. Jacob pulled it open with effort. The air that rose from below was warm and smelled of oil and electricity. He nodded. "We're going in." As they climbed down into the hollow core, something clicked inside Jacob. He had seen this kind of place before, off the book spaces deep in the dirt, where experiments were done without rules, where people vanished. Halfway through the narrow tunnel, Lissa spoke again. Her voice shook. "Jacob, my sister's name is Elira. She's only 10. She's smart. She always took care of me. I need her." Jacob put a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll find her. I promise." The tunnel opened into a massive underground space, dark, wide, and full of old machines. Some still hummed faintly. In the corner, a light blinked. Jacob crept forward and pulled out a small scanner. Thermal trace, and someone's been here recently. Then he saw it. A smear of dark purple blood on the floor. Lissa ran to it and gasped. "That's Elira's scarf." Before Jacob could respond, a sharp ping echoed in the tunnel. They weren't alone. Red laser dots appeared on the walls. A voice shouted from hidden speakers. "You've entered restricted ground. Surrender immediately." Jacob grabbed Lissa and ducked behind a generator. "They found us. Stay quiet." He peeked out. 2 black armored drones hovered in from the HFY side, guns charged, scanning. Jacob reached into his coat and activated his wrist guard. The guard hummed, and a small shock shield formed over his left arm. Lissa clutched his side. "They're going to kill us." Jacob looked her in the eyes. "Not today." With a loud grunt, he threw a flash pellet into the air. It burst with white light. The drones twisted and buzzed in confusion. Jacob ran forward and slammed the first drone with his shield, sending it flying into a wall. Sparks flew. The second drone fired but missed. Jacob dodged left, then shot his stun blast right into its sensor. The drone twitched, smoked, and fell. Silence returned. Lissa stared at him with wide eyes. You fought them." Jacob looked at the downed machines. "These aren't street thugs. These are military drones, custom made." He turned to Lissa. "This is bigger than I thought. But it also means something." "What?" "If they're trying this hard to hide the truth, then your sister is still alive." The tunnel behind them collapsed with a dull roar. Smoke filled the air. Jacob pulled Lissa behind a broken console just as more sparks flew from the walls. Pipes hissed above them, leaking steam that shimmered in the dim light. They were trapped, underground, but not defeated. Jacob checked his wrist guard. "We've got about 10 minutes before more drones show up," he said. "We need answers fast." Lissa, coughing softly, reached into her pocket and pulled out the damaged pendant. Again. "There's a name inside. When I touched it earlier, it glitched. A name appeared for a second. Then it locked again." Jacob wiped the soot from his hands and took the device. "Let's see what it's hiding." He connected the pendant to a small decryptor in his backpack. The tiny screen blinked, then flashed red. "Code sealed. Level 7. Restricted to sector." "Admins only." Jacob narrowed his eyes. "Sector admins? That means this isn't just some black market operation. Someone with high authority is involved." Lissa's voice trembled. "Does that mean no one can stop them?" Jacob looked at her. "No. It means if we do stop them, we hit them where it hurts most." He stood, dusted off, and walked toward a rusted gate at the far end of the hollow core. It was sealed, heavy, and marked with faded danger signs. But Jacob had seen this kind of thing before. It wasn't a wall. It was a door. "Behind this is the forbidden sector," he said. I heard it was used for deep mining, then shut down after accidents. But the truth is, it was sold off to private buyers. Secret ones." Lissa stared at the gate. "You think they took her inside?" Jacob nodded. "I'd bet my last breath on it." With a soft click, he pulled out a hacked access card from his bag and slid it through the lock. Nothing. He pulled out a second card. Still nothing. Then Lissa stepped forward. "Let me try mine." She pressed the pendant to the scanner. Click. Hiss. The gate opened. Jacob looked at her, surprised. That pendant wasn't just stolen, it was a key. Beyond the gate, they entered a long, cold corridor. Lights flickered on one by one as they moved, showing deep scratch marks on the walls. The air smelled of rust and chemicals. Lissa grabbed Jacob's hand tightly. "It's so quiet," Jacob whispered. "Too quiet." Suddenly, a soft hum echoed down the hall. A circular lift opened in the floor ahead. Jacob scanned the panel. "This goes down to level Omega." "Is that bad?" Lissa asked. Jacob sighed. "It's the lowest level. No cameras, no guards, total silence. That's where you put the things no one should ever see." They stepped in. The lift dropped for what felt like forever. The lights above vanished. Only red warning lights stayed on. Then a final clunk, and the doors opened. Lissa gasped. Rows and rows of transparent tanks lined the walls. Inside them floated alien children, hooked to wires, unconscious. Different species, different ages. Some barely breathing. One tank was empty, but blood floated inside it. Lissa stepped forward, shaking. That's where my sister was." Jacob walked to a terminal and accessed the logs. The files showed test records on memory removal, obedience implants, DNA tampering, horrifying procedures, done by one name. Admin Varkle. Lissa whispered the name. He runs the food banks in the city. Everyone trusts him." Jacob's fist clenched. "He's hiding behind charity while kidnapping children." Suddenly the lights flickered and an alarm began to beep. Unauthorized access detected. Jacob pulled Lissa close. "We need to go. Now." But before they could run, a massive steel door across the lab opened, and a towering figure in armored robes stepped out. Red eyes glowed behind a metal mask. "You shouldn't have come here, human." The armored figure stood like a shadow given life. Steam hissed from the pipes behind him. His metal cloak dragged across the floor, and his glowing red eyes focused straight on Jacob. The lab lights flickered again, casting long, cold shadows. Jacob stepped forward, placing himself between Lissa and the figure. "You must be Varkle." The figure didn't answer with words. Instead, he raised one hand and the nearby tanks began to vibrate, the children inside them twitching. Lisa gasped and covered her mouth. "You came too far," the figure finally said in a deep, echoing voice. "And now you'll vanish like the others." Jacob whispered behind him. "Lisa, now, run." She hesitated for a second, eyes wide with fear. "Go!" Jacob shouted. Lisa turned and darted behind a set of crates. She didn't run far, just enough to hide and peek through the cracks. Varkle moved fast, far faster than someone in heavy armor should. A punch flew at Jacob, who barely blocked it with his shield. Sparks flew. The impact threw him across the room, but Jacob rolled and stood again. "You don't scare me." "Then you're dumber than I thought." They clashed again, Jacob dodging, blocking, countering. Varkle wasn't just strong. He had tech-enhanced strength and precision. Lisa, shaking, noticed something near the empty tank. A console screen still unlocked. She crawled to it silently. On the screen was a list of subjects, their names, ages, status. Her breath caught when she saw it. Subject 17, Illyra, status, transferred. Transferred? To where? She clicked again, and the screen displayed a map. There was a red dot marked Transfer Ship Docking Sector 3 Beta. She whispered, "She's still alive. They're moving her." But as the alarm blared, the screen began a shutdown countdown. 10, 9. Lisa grabbed a data chip from the terminal and slammed it into the port. 7, 6. She copied the entire file database to the chip in seconds. Records of abductions, locations, names, even recordings of experiments. Then she yanked the chip free and ducked away just as the screen went black. Across the lab, Jacob's guard cracked. One more punch and he hit the ground hard. Varkle stood over him, arm raised for a final strike. "You should have stayed out of this, human," he growled. But before the blow could land, something small struck Varkle's helmet. Hard. He turned, sharply. Lisa stood across the room, holding a metal pipe with shaking hands. "Get away from him." Varkle took a step toward her, but Jacob grabbed his leg and pulled. With one final effort, Jacob activated an overload core on his wrist guard. "Hey, metalhead," he grinned weakly. "How about a light show?" He slammed the core into Varkle's chest. Boom. A burst of electricity exploded outward, throwing Varkle backward into a tank. The glass shattered. Liquid poured, and alarms screamed louder. Jacob collapsed, panting. Lisa ran to him. "Are you okay?" He nodded slowly. "That bought us time, but not much." Together they limped out of the lab, the chip clutched tightly in Lisa's hand. They reached a side exit and climbed up a ladder to an old hatch. When they opened it, they found themselves behind a junkyard near the city's outer docks. Airships groaned and hummed above them. Lisa showed Jacob the chip. It has everything. We can prove it now." Jacob looked toward the skyline. "We need to get to a place that can broadcast this data to the whole planet." Lisa's voice cracked. "My sister. They moved her to Docking Sector 3 Beta." Jacob's eyes hardened. "Then that's where we go next." Docking Sector 3 Beta wasn't marked on public maps. It was a forgotten corner of Zoltrax 9's southern edge, where broken ships were stored, shady deals were made, and criminals flew in and out under false IDs. The official city scanners didn't even sweep this area. To the poor and unwanted, it was called the Graveyard Skyport. And somewhere inside, a ship waited, its engines humming, its cargo sealed. Jacob and Lisa stood on the rooftop of a nearby warehouse, hidden behind metal crates. The night was cold. Fog covered the lower levels like a blanket. Below them, guards in black armor patrolled the path to a large cargo freighter marked with the red eye symbol, the same one from the pendant. "That's the one," Lisa whispered, pointing with trembling fingers. "That's the ship." "She's inside." Jacob studied the patrol patterns. "They're moving fast. It launches in 20 minutes tops." They had no backup, no help, just a girl with a data chip, and a human with old war scars. Jacob checked his gear. One stun pistol, half a battery left. His wrist guard still smoked from the last overload. And a small EMP grenade, his last one. This is suicide, he muttered. Lisa looked at him, her small voice firm. Then let's make it count. He smiled faintly. You're braver than half the soldiers I served with. They climbed down silently, moving through broken scaffolding and stacks of old shipping containers. The ground smelled like oil and rust. Sparks from welding torches lit the darkness in flashes. Jacob signaled for Lisa to wait. He crept toward a parked truck, disabled the driver with a quick jab of his stun pistol, and opened the back, finding empty crates and a large loading cart, and no. Idea sparked. Minutes later, Jacob and Lisa were inside a crate rolling forward on the cart as one of the drones moved it toward the freighter's loading ramp. The noise of clanking wheels and alarms covered their presence. The cart stopped. A door hissed open. They held their breath. Then, slam. The crate was pushed onto the ship. They waited. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Finally, Jacob cracked the crate. Door open. They were inside a massive storage bay. Rows of sealed containers lined the walls. Strange humming came from the floor beneath them. Jacob and Lisa moved carefully between the boxes, searching for anything that might hold her sister. Lisa spotted it first, a glowing pod with a nameplate, Subject 17, Elira. She ran forward and pressed her hands on the glass. Elira, I'm here, wake up. Elira lay inside the pod unconscious, breathing shallowly. Her arms were bound and a small tube was connected to her neck. Jacob worked quickly on the control panel. They put her in stasis. If they jump to hyperspace with her like this, she'll never wake up. Suddenly, a voice echoed over the ship's speaker. Unauthorized presence detected in cargo hold. They were spotted. Doors slammed shut behind them. Mechanical footsteps thundered above. Time to fight, Jacob muttered. He pulled Lisa behind the pod and set the EMP grenade. When I throw this, grab your sister and run. Don't look back. She grabbed his arm. No, I'm not leaving you. Lisa, he said firmly, you believed in me. Now believe in yourself. You can save her. The doors burst open. 2 combat drones stormed in, weapons ready. Jacob stepped into the open. Come. On then, he threw the grenade. Flash! A wave of blue light exploded, frying the drone circuits. Jacob collapsed to one knee. Lisa sprinted to the pod and yanked the emergency release. Steam hissed. The pod opened slowly. Elira's eyes fluttered. Sis, she whispered weakly. Lisa cried, pulling her close. I've got you. You're safe now. Jacob grabbed them both. We're not done yet. Alarm screamed louder. More footsteps approached. They ran through the cargo bay, dodging fire and ducking behind crates. Just ahead, a small emergency escape pod blinked green. Jacob shoved them inside. Get in. Go. What about you? Lisa cried. I'll hold them off. She shook her head. You'll die. Jacob smiled sadly. Only if you don't. I'll make it. He slammed the hatch shut. The escape pod launched just as enemy guards stormed in. It blasted out of the freighter into the night sky, vanishing into the clouds. Jacob stood alone, surrounded, but he smiled. He had done his part. The bang. Escape pod flew like a falling star through the night sky. Inside, Lisa cradled her sister's head on her lap. Elira's skin was cold, her breath weak, but she was alive. Tears ran down Lisa's cheeks, not from fear this time, but from hope. She held the data chip close to her chest. The proof of everything, the experiments, the abductions, the truth. Jacob gave everything to get this into her hands, she whispered. Please hold on, both of you. Meanwhile, far behind in the belly of the freighter, Jacob wiped blood from his lip and stood tall. His arms ached. His wrist guards sparked uselessly. He had no weapons left. The guards surrounded him, sleek helmets shining under red lights. Varkle stepped through them slowly, armor dented but unbroken. The red eye symbol glowed bright on his chest. You humans always try to be heroes, Varkle said. But you're alone, unarmed. You've already lost. Jacob looked up. You think this is about winning a fight? Varkle smirked behind his mask. Then what is it? Jacob stepped forward. It's about standing, even when no one else does. Suddenly, he pressed a final button on his belt. Nothing exploded, nothing sparked, but a signal was sent. Across the planet, news terminals blinked. A video began playing, images stolen from Varkle's lab, tanks of children, torture rooms, experiment logs, the list of names, the map of transfers, the truth. Jacob had used the ship's internal beacon to transmit the data chip's full contents before the guards arrived. Every screen in Zaltrax 9 lit up. Varkle's smugness vanished. What have you done? Jacob smiled. You were never afraid of me. You should have been afraid of the people watching. On the other side of the city, the governor's tower flickered with the alert. Military forces tuned in. Journalists screamed for confirmation. Citizens gasped in horror. Riots began. Jacob was beaten, bound, and dragged to the control room, but he had already won. Back in the escape pod, Lisa and Elira were picked up by a patrol ship, a neutral humanitarian fleet that had intercepted the emergency signal. Inside the ship's medical bay, doctors worked quickly. Elira's vitals stabilized. Lisa sat nearby, the data chip now handed to a military officer. She was in a tank, she said softly. And the human, he saved us both. The officer gave her a nod. We've seen the footage. Everyone has. We're launching an arrest order for Varkle and his entire organization. Lisa grabbed his sleeve. And Jacob? We traced the signal back to the freighter. But, he paused. Lisa's eyes filled with tears again. Is he alive? The officer looked uncertain. We'll do everything we can. Hours passed. The freighter was stormed. Government forces moved in. Varkle tried to run, but was caught. Jacob was found in the ship's brig, bruised, bloodied, and still alive. They asked him why he didn't run. He simply said, I promised I'd stand for her, so I did. The courtroom was silent. Packed from wall to wall with beings of every species, the atmosphere was tense. Reporters floated in hover drones above. Judges in dark robes sat tall behind a curved bench. Soldiers lined the walls, weapons holstered but ready. At the center stood Lisa, no longer the filthy, trembling child from the alley. She wore a clean white tunic now, her face calm, her posture firm. Beside her sat Elira, still weak, but healing, and, chained in the accused seat, guarded heavily, sat Varkle, his once polished armor scratched and dull, red eye symbol blacked out in shame. A judge leaned forward. You may speak, Lisa. She stepped up to the microphone, her voice soft but steady. I came here with nothing, she began. No shoes, no food, no family. I screamed for help, and no one believed me. Murmurs filled the room. People walked past me, laughed at me, called me mad. Even when I showed them the pendant, they turned away. They looked at my race, my clothes, and decided I wasn't worth listening to. She paused. But one man did. Her eyes turned to Jacob, seated in the witness section. He wore a healing patch over his ribs, his face bruised but his eyes strong. Lisa smiled. A human, a stranger, someone who didn't owe me anything. He believed me, not because he had proof, not because he wanted something, but because deep down, he knew what it felt like to be ignored. Jacob's fingers curled tightly in his lap. Lisa continued, louder now. He risked his life for me, fought for me, and gave me the courage to fight back. She turned to the judges. You asked me what I want. I don't want revenge, I don't want money, I only want this truth to be heard. For every child locked in a cage, for every voice that was silenced, I want justice. The room erupted in applause. Even the guards struggled to keep their faces emotionless. The lead judge nodded slowly. The evidence has been reviewed. The crimes committed under Varkle's order are not only real, they are monstrous. He banged the gavel. By the power of the Galactic Council, Varkle is found guilty of war crimes, trafficking, and medical violations. He is sentenced to life imprisonment on the asteroid colony of Sol Rex, with no chance of release. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Varkle said nothing. His face remained stone, but his power, his name, meant nothing now. As guards took him away, Elira reached for Lysa's hand. "You did it," she whispered. "No," Lisa replied. "We did it." Outside the courthouse, lights flashed, cameras blinked, and people cheered. But Jacob didn't stop for the attention. He walked quietly toward the spaceport. He was ready to disappear again, but Lisa caught up to him. "You're leaving?" she asked. Jacob nodded. "My part's done." She shook her head. "Not yet." From her pocket she pulled out a small badge, shaped like a star. "The council gave me this. A protector's token. It allows me to appoint one person as my guardian, my family." Jacob raised an eyebrow. "Family," Lysa nodded. "You believed me when no one else did. I want to believe in someone too." Jacob looked down at the token, then up at her. "You sure?" She smiled. "Yeah. You said standing up matters, but so does staying." Jacob held the badge in his hand for a long moment. Then quietly he said, "All right, let's go home." In a small house near the city's edge, laughter echoed from within. Lysa helped Elira with homework. Jacob cooked in the background, burning toast like always, and outside the window across the sky of Zoltrax 9, a large banner blinked above the Capitol Tower. "Truth wins because someone chose to believe."